from chasing love to becoming love, where attraction isn't just a lightning bolt or a lonely street artist with their saxophone out and a jar collecting donations. That's not who you are in your sex life. So, have you ever met someone who is just radiant? Not just good looks, but presence, depth, aliveness, the kind of man who, without saying a word, makes you feel something stir inside you, a longing, a pull, and maybe even a quiet fear. Could I ever be enough for him? And let's pause right there. Because here's the truth most people never stop to feel. If you want a partner who is present, embodied, and awake, you have to step into that version of yourself first. Not as some strategy to convince someone to love us. It's so easy to mistake our dating struggles as proof that something is wrong with the core of our being. As if we are fundamentally unlovable, and that's the voice of existential shame and trauma. But the deeper truth is, your soul longs for this version of you, not so much to fix you. Most of personal development is about insight and shedding what we realize isn't true for us on the deepest levels, but to reveal who you are, to help you rise into the fullness of your love, your sex, your potential in life. Let's go deep into this. Let's talk about the beautiful, uncomfortable, and revealing truth, right, of becoming that radiant lover you wish existed in your life. Or, in the language of Tantra, becoming love. Coming home to yourself all the way. And starting with how that he's out of my league story is an illusion and a trap. So, have you ever told yourself, that guy is out of my league, or he'd never meet up with me? You're lying in bed, scrolling through dating profiles, and maybe you're clicking on the men who feel like your fourth or your fifth choice. Not because they're bad, but because something inside you says the ones you really want are out of reach. You're not even aware of it half the time. It's like an invisible ceiling. Some part of you just doesn't believe you could be with that kind of man. Personally, my version of this, and this is really vulnerable, I used to star the guys I was really drawn to on the apps, right? But never message them. I'd tell myself, I'll wait until I feel good enough or ready enough for them. They wouldn't love me as I am, surely, was the story, until I'd somehow earned my place beside someone like that. And this is kind of gross, right? But I want to be real with you instead of hiding parts of my past. But then it gets worse. I'd send a message to someone who I would never want to date, people I was only half attracted to. Often people on my C or D list, saving that A or B list for when I was ready. It's honestly a bit humiliating to talk about now. But it's what I often did, and it's what most of us face when we are on the online apps, the so-called meat market. And I'm never doing that to myself again. I'm not doing that to myself again. But let's pause for a moment. Because what are we actually saying to ourselves when we do this? Sometimes it's about self-worth, like a belief that we're somehow unfinished, that we'd be lucky to be chosen by someone we find attractive, that we're a fixer-upper, that if someone really saw me, they'd see the cracks I'm working so hard to cover. And maybe there's some truth in it. Sometimes we are in need of growth, still shedding the old grief, still learning how to be with our emotions, still refinding our spark. But it's not the whole story. Because underneath that tangle of self-worth issues is something else much more powerful. And this is the silver lining to this entire story. You're placing him above you because you sense something in him. You sense he's done more personal work than you. You feel his radiance, his presence, his depth, his aliveness, his capacity for love or sex. And some part of you wants him, right? But more than that, you want to feel the way he seems to feel. Let me say that again. You want to feel the way he feels. You want that kind of aliveness for yourself, that kind of clarity, that kind of joy in your body, in your heart, that kind of pleasure. And here's where it gets exciting. Like, what if you didn't take that longing as evidence that you're not enough? What if you saw it as your soul recognizing its own next step through him as a mirror, not as a comparison, but as a calling, an invitation to rise into who you actually are? And this is where we're going, because let's be real. You don't actually want to be in a relationship where you're playing catch up all the time, where you feel less than your partner, where you're constantly wondering if you are worthy or hoping they won't see the parts of you you're still working on. That's not love. That's spiritual anxiety. That's a self-worth fixer-upper story on steroids. And the opposite also sucks. Dating someone who doesn't quite meet your standards, who doesn't meet you as an equal, someone who admires you but doesn't really see you. It can feel flattering at first, being looked up to, feeling young again or needed, but it's not the same as the kind of evolutionary, tantric relationship we're speaking to here, where two equals meet fully and grow into the depths of their souls together. But that whole out of reach story that floats through our minds, that's not an excuse to play your C or D game instead of your A game like I used to, out of shame and low self-confidence. No way. And this is what I learned that set me free from this pattern we're talking about. It's a signal. Your attraction to him is a signal of where you already know you belong. It's you feeling the chemistry within you of who you really are if you play your A game. And that's why you're attracted to him. He's a mirror of your potential. It's a call to grow into the kind of man who embodies that same radiant energy. Not to impress, not to prove, but because your soul is ready to live that fully. And this isn't about chasing someone better or more beautiful either. We do a lot of that in the gay world. It's about becoming the man who is radiant, who is turned on by life, who is the exact match, not in appearance, but in frequency, for the partner you long to meet. It's not about becoming perfect. It's about becoming present. It's about letting your soul shine through every corner of your life authentically, unapologetically, beautifully, because you are beautiful as you are. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. So when you have that he's out of my league story pop up, you're not seeing your inadequacy in him. You're seeing your future self, and it's turning you on. So let's talk about the lover you crave. Think about the man you long for. Deep intimacy, the kind where he really sees you and something in you relaxes. Unwavering presence, a love that doesn't flinch, unconditional. Financial strength, grounded, purpose-driven, stable without being boring, right? And radiant sexuality, of course, the kind of turn on that makes you feel both wild and held. An emotional depth, a man who feels and doesn't run from it. Now notice something about that list. None of those are service traits. They are spiritual qualities. Even financial strength at its core isn't about income at all. It's about living with purpose, and connecting to abundance is about how he moves through the world, the clarity in his eyes, the way he holds space for himself and for you. We're drawn to men who are on, men who are alive, men we can feel who've done enough inner work to embody authenticity and a warm presence. But here's where many of us get stuck. We secretly hope that meeting the right person will finally heal us, that love will fix the places in us that still feel jagged, that he will complete the picture, make us whole. That longing is human, it makes perfect sense. And it's actually part of what makes us compatible with someone on a soul level as well. But it's not the path to relationship you actually want, because what you're really after on the deepest soul level isn't someone just to, I don't know, fill the gaping holes in your life. You don't want a partner who just fits into your neuroses like a puzzle piece, completing the picture of your darkness. You don't want someone who balances out your negativity with their own. That might feel familiar, but that's not love. It's enmeshment, it's codependence, and sometimes we call it trauma bonding. Lady Gaga even sang a whole song about this. Bad romance. You want more than that. You want the juice, the love, the presence, the radiance, that kind of erotic and emotional attunement that makes you feel alive to your fingertips. And that doesn't come from matching dysfunctions or an overlapping love of Netflix and chill, as fun as that can be with someone. It comes from becoming available for real love. Or, as A Course in Miracles states, removing all the blocks and obstacles to love. Because the lover you crave, he's drawn to men who are already learning to shine their inner light. Not perfect men, not healed men just like you, who are beginning to walk the path with heart, with openness, with curiosity to learn and discover the world together. And when two people like you and him meet, when you've both done just enough to be open and playful and attuned, that's when the real magic begins in your life. And attraction is more than compatibility, it's energy. Attraction isn't about just checking some boxes on a dating app profile. Are you a twink or a bear or a daddy chaser or whatever? It's about chemistry, resonance, magnetism, that sixth sense, a subtle feeling of rightness you experience with someone. The way your whole being responds to another man's presence, how they light you up. What most people never realize is that there's an inner science to this, a path to mastery. And most importantly, there's choice. Because when we look closely, attraction is very physical. It's not just emotional or mental. It's not magic either. These sensations live in our bodies in very specific places even. Tantra calls these areas the chakras. And we don't have to make it mystical. Chakras are simply the places in your body where you feel your emotions. Your head, your heart, your groin, and we call those sensations energy in Tantra. But these are things you already feel every day. You know this already. So let's take it deeper now. There's something you might not have ever put words to yet, because no one teaches us this. We're taught to think attraction is just one thing, that it's either on or off, that we either like someone or we don't. But real attraction is not binary, and it's not a mystery either. It's a language. It's a language of music. Your body's been sounding all your life. You just haven't been taught to listen to what the chords mean, how to direct your inner symphony, especially in concert with another man. Your body is like an orchestra. And hang with me here. I'll land this in a way that's going to leave you in just a moment with something you've probably never thought of, about how to have some of the most powerful sexual experiences of your life. So that's where we're going with this. So first, each chakra, each energy center is one of the instruments with its own tone and timbre and voice. They require different skills to learn them. And maybe your heart's more like maybe it's more like the saxophone, warm and romantic, vocal. Your cock is more like the drum, raw, rhythmic, live. And your mind might be the piano with an infinite number of melodies and moods. Then you get the oboe, the piccolo, the xylophone. You get it, right? Your throat, your bottom, your gut, each offering their own textures and moods and colors in this orchestra. And for most of us, we've been living in bodies where only one or two instruments are regularly played at all. Just one or two, the cock and the heart, at most in conventional sex. We get used to relationships that are all beat and no melody, or all sweetness and no depth, like a solo violin playing sadly under a midnight moon, right? But Tantra reveals something breathtaking here. First, on the individual level, when more of your instruments come online, when more of your inner tones, your chakras, the energies in your body are tuned, aligned, available, it becomes an orchestra. And a symphony becomes possible. And not just any symphony, one that can carry you into states of awareness you may have only read about. The kind of mystical, embodied, blissful oneness experiences described in sacred texts and shared in our men's circles after life-changing Tantra retreats. But this personal individual symphony is only half of it. And this is where we're going, because here's the secret most people never realize that's available even to newcomers to Tantra. Attraction isn't just about who you are or who he is. My orchestra plus yours does not simply equal a louder symphony or more variety of instruments. 1 + 1 does not equal 2 here. We're talking about divine union. We're talking about the alchemy of souls. Attraction becomes the opening chord of something greater, the blissful music of the universe, of the stars, beginning to play through both of you as one. When the lights are all on and the music is playing, when your bodies, hearts, and souls are tuned, the space between you begins to sing. When you're both fully open and all the instruments are playing their symphony together, it blows the roof off of the concert hall. Attraction becomes more than chemistry. Sex becomes more than chemistry. We lose ourselves in bliss, transported in love. We become one in an experience beyond ourselves. The music echoes in ways that transport us beyond the limitations of even our own radiant souls into the music of the universe, the realms of gods and goddesses. We become that music. We become pure bliss. Pure awareness pours through us. Something we could never experience alone when we're just conducting our own symphony on our own. We meet our lover and the universe sings. And as you begin to practice, as you open more of yourself to life and love and sex, as you learn and grow alongside other men doing this work through Tantra, through meditation, through coming fully into our bodies together, you change. More lights come on, more instruments begin to play in your inner world. Your inner orchestra becomes fully available, tuned not to fantasy, but to truth. And suddenly, you start to notice things you couldn't feel before. You're no longer confused by partial attraction and crushes. You can enjoy them, appreciate them, even savor the heat of the moment. But you no longer mistake partial attraction for something it's not, because you've felt the difference. And you're no longer haunted by that old question, am I good enough for him? Because even asking that question dims your inner light. It signals that something's off, that a part of that connection isn't resonating with you. It's creating noise in your world. That the symphony, however beautiful it could be, isn't in full harmony. But when you're tuned in tantrically, aware, open, alive, you know exactly which lights are on in your connection, which instruments are available or playing in that symphony, and how to meet the moment as it is in its sexy fullness without grasping, without performing. You don't chase love or sex anymore. You recognize it. You receive it. You rise into it fully, and it feels good. It feels good. It quenches the thirst on the soul level, and it arrives not because you were searching, but because you were wide open, radiant yourself, a mirror of his love. Your inner symphony was playing and you were ready. That's Tantra. Learning how to go from partial connection to full body, full being, aliveness, in connection with other men. From flickers to fire. From chasing love to becoming love, where attraction isn't just a lightning bolt or a lonely street artist with their saxophone out and a jar collecting donations. That's not who you are in your sex life. It's not about donations. That's not who you are. We're talking about a cathedral of sound, light, and feeling arising between two or more tuned orchestras. And the most beautiful part, this is learnable, trainable, available this month via a simple internet search. Newcomers to Tantra often experience these blissful states during their first retreat. And that's partly why Tantra is said to be the fastest path toward awakening. It's fun, it's available, and it's available to you as you are. All that is asked of you is to be open, to be willing, to let it in. You don't have to wait for a soulmate to stumble into your life to wake you up or lift you up. You can begin now, tuning your system, bringing your inner music online, experiencing divine bliss. And when he appears, your soul is already singing. This music begins now. This journey isn't about chasing love. It's not even about attraction. It's about becoming the kind of man whose very presence opens up the field of possibilities, not through perfection, not through strategy or luck, but through deep embodiment of your soul's music. When your inner symphony is online, when your instruments are tuned, when your inner lights are all on, love doesn't need to be hunted. You are love. You are love, and it rings through your life when you realize this. It rings through your heart, your sex, your words. No hang-up from your past can block this when you are on, when the music is playing in your soul. So the question is not, would someone like him ever love someone like me, or where can I find my Prince Charming? The real question is, are you living in a way that lets love pour through you and your life? Because when it does, when your body becomes a finely tuned orchestra and your life becomes the symphony, love doesn't need to be chased. You are love. Love shows up, not always in the way you expect, but unmistakably. Sometimes he arrives through a message, sometimes through a stranger's gaze that lingers a second longer than usual, the usual gay world. And sometimes he's already in your orbit, but you're finally attuned to yourself enough to recognize him and radiate the love that can connect you. This isn't passive. You're still in this world. You still say yes to meeting people and trying new things. You might still be on the apps or going to the gay bars, but you're no longer operating from lack. You're no longer scanning the world for someone to complete you. Instead, you're letting love pour through you. You're letting attraction draw in what matches your frequency and clearing out of that inner frequency everything that isn't deeply true and aligned with who you are on the deepest levels. It's not about adding anything. You're letting life respond to your presence because your presence is finally clear as day, radiant. And from there, everything changes because now love isn't a goal you have to chase. It's not something scarce. It's not something you earn. We're talking about love, right? It's who you are when you're fully alive and in touch with your truth. You become that radiant man you used to long for, because he was always you, and it turns you on. That's where the real magic begins, not in theory, not in the future, but here, this week, now, right now, even when you let go of your stories and let this part of you shine. And if something in this message is stirring a deeper knowing in you, if you're realizing that love, sex, and intimacy could feel so much more alive than what you've known, then this is your invitation to stop chasing, to open, to deepen, to say yes to the next step of your path. That might mean attending your first men's Tantra retreat. It might mean exploring this work in community. Or it might mean working with me one-on-one. And if you've been trying to piece it all together alone through books and videos or, I don't know, lonely late night conversations with ChatGPT, let me offer you something I've learned the hard way. Breakthroughs happen in person. The insights might come on your own, but the openings, the initiations, the soul level transformation you're wanting, that comes from being in the room, held, seen, challenged inside something deeper. So find that space for yourself. Create that space for yourself, a space where you can drop the performance, soften the armor, and meet yourself more fully. That's where this becomes real. And if you're done playing small in love, and if you're ready to step into a different kind of life, let's begin. Let's start here. Take a breath. Tune in. What is your soul whispering right now? Let that guide your next step.